use to solve their problems which they are trying to solve through chatbot, and the other way around also, like, hey, with these problems, what are the features that we can build on Glific so that they can make the best utilization of it. Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Krishna. We also have Akhilesh here. Akhilesh has primarily, he's a developer on the team. He has primarily worked on the ChatGPT integration with the Apprentice project. So he's also available here for any of the questions that you might have on the GPT integration. Okay, all right. So I'm just going to start by sharing my screen. And yeah, just a second. Okay. Welcome everyone again to our webinar on GPT integration. I am just going to set the agenda for the call today first. So in the beginning, we're going to talk a little bit about Glific, what Glific is all about. Then we'll move into how we have done the ChatGPT integration with TAP, some idea on what TAP does, and then why they thought GPT is the right tool for them to solve user queries. And then we'll talk a little bit more about how you can integrate the ChatGPT in with your NGO. And towards the end, we also have an exciting program, an exciting campaign that we're launching today over call today. So would be great if you can stay tuned towards till the end. So yeah, so that's like on the overall agenda. Okay, before we just start, I just want to get a quick temp check and understand how many of you are already aware of Glific versus how many of you are coming here for the first time. Are you an existing Glific user or you're new to Glific? Okay, so it's sort of evenly split, I would say, Krishna. So yeah, just that. Okay, thank you so much for answering that question. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. I'll just quickly talk about what Glific is. So Glific is an open source digital communication platform that helps NGOs to bridge the last mile gap digitally via smartphone. I'm just going to play an intro video for Glific. So let me know if you can hear this fine.
You are an NGO that engages with more than 500 beneficiaries on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, running various programs such as health awareness drives, counseling, education at home, support helplines, or delivery of other services, then you know the pains of making sure that all your end users are responded to in a timely manner, the pains to gather data from those interactions and measuring it for better impact. The problem is not having the right tools to efficiently communicate with your end users at a large scale. Now, you can use a no-code automated conversation builder to interact with millions of end users at the same time. It's a new way which is going to change how NGOs digitally interact with their end users. This is how it works.
Okay, so that is a bit about on Glific. Sorry. Just a second. Okay, so we are, so Glific has been working with a lot of NGOs coming from different sectors. So far, we have worked with close to 90 NGOs. We have currently 70, close to 70 NGOs that are working actively on Glific. Through the platform, our NGOs have exchanged close to 26 million messages. and have reached to 628K plus beneficiaries. These sectors majorly are, most of our NGOs come from the education space. That's one big pool. The other one is the healthcare, and followed by other sectors here. So yeah, so that's a bit about Glific. So how NGOs have been using Glific. So they have been using Glific to overcome a lot of different challenges. It's a WhatsApp chatbot solution. Basically, it's a way to automate your conversations on WhatsApp and reach a larger audience. So that's what WhatsApp chatbot, and that's what Glific is all about. It helps in overcoming the barrier of language, low literacy, people who can't, if they're end beneficiaries or users who have low connectivity or low end devices, and they don't have enough data on their phones, don't have enough storage on their phone. WhatsApp is something that we have seen most of the people have. So it's basically overcomes the barrier of also adopting a new technology. At times we've also seen that organizations opt for a platform where users have to come in, log in, and then access the content. Why not to just share it on the WhatsApp itself? So which is majorly available on all on everyone's phones these days. So it overcomes the barrier of adopting a new technology, and it also bridges, it also works as a two-way communication platform. Okay, so let's move on to TAP. So we have done this in ChatGPT integration with the Apprentice project. So TAP works on developing social emotional skills, building social emotional skills in students through choice-based learning. So that's what TAP does. So TAP was initially when they thought of implementing a chatbot, they were dealing with a couple of challenges before they eventually moved into a WhatsApp solution. They wanted to basically do three things. One is enable choice-based learning for students at scale. So enable choice-based learning means, can a student choose a particular subject or choose a area of interest, and can that be done at a larger scale? That was one challenge. The other one was, hey, if I am sharing some content with my students, can that be made personalized? Everyone comes in with a different learning needs, with a different background. So can we make sure that our content is personalized in such a way that it is it can be consumed by students who come from low literacy and low tech background? And the third one is, can the students ask questions back to us? Is there a way in which students can ask questions back to us and we communicate the accurate answers, the right responses, send them the right responses when they need it? Not like there will be a person who will come and like respond to their messages at a time which is more convenient to them, versus round the clock support. Can that be given to a student? So that's what TAP was initially thinking about, like working on these three problems. So they came up with an idea of starting a chatbot, which is TAP Buddy. It builds social emotional learning and creativity in students. I will just play this video for you so that you get some idea on what TAP Buddy is all about, and then why they moved from here to a GPT model.
TAP Buddy is a WhatsApp chatbot built to instill social and emotional skills such as creativity, confidence, and problem solving into students through simple activities. A student's journey starts by clicking on the registration link that redirects them to the bot. The registration process starts with giving consent, allowing the bot to message them further. The next step is to select a language in which they want to interact with the bot. As of now, the bot provides two languages, English and Hindi. It is then followed by collecting basic details of the student, like name, grade, and school name. As we believe in choice-based learning, students choose which course they want to learn to build their skills on. We send a course overview video for each course, which helps students in making an informed decision. After completing the course selection, students receive one bite-sized activity embedded with skills every week. We have also built a natural language processor in the bot, which replies to the questions asked, which are different from the keywords on the buttons provided. These activity videos have an assignment for students to complete and submit to us, which will help us assess their learning. A quiz about the content they just viewed follows every activity a student completes. Throughout a flow, gamification elements are added to intrinsically and extrinsically motivate students. This is inspired by Yu-Kai Chow's gamification octalysis framework. While leaderboards, a point system, and badges are part of extrinsic motivation, messages including elements of building curiosity, scarcity, appreciation, and social influence intrinsically motivate students. Constant feedback is also taken from users to involve them in strengthening the product. Users who stop a flow in between receive reminder messages to nudge them to complete it. The uniqueness of TabBuddy is that there is no extra setup needed, and a familiar UI that consumes lesser data makes it convenient for underprivileged students to learn from home with a basic smartphone and connection to the internet.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Sorry. Okay, so that was the TabBuddy chatbot which Tab team has developed. I request Krishna to now, talk on the model that they have for NLP and
Hello,
sorry, just a second.
TabBuddy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Krishna.
Yes,
Over to you.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Krishna Priya. So, as you must have seen, like if you have seen a chatbot, because some of you have not worked with Glific before. So, as you must have seen, the chatbot typically works in a very structured interactivity. Like it has a very structured interactivity. So, it's more like the language options are given. When there's like a versus B, so the options are already given. So, when there is a when there's an unpredictability in the chat, the typical WhatsApp chatbot might not be able to handle. So the problem which TAP has faced is because they are working with children who are in the age group of 4th to 10th grade, a lot of times users ask questions back to, because they have like a persona for their bot. Users often, users in this case, students often feel that it is a human that is talking. So they often ask questions back to the bot. So addressing those queries at scale was very difficult, because after a certain point, FAQs might not be working, because there might be n number of questions coming in different categories. So as a first step, as you have seen in the video, they have tried using Dialogflow to handle this natural language queries. So Dialogflow is a Google's product. The way Dialogflow works is you have to train the bot with certain phrases which these students are already using. So I'll be using, say, 10 phrases to say, hey, these are the 10 common questions that they might be asking about registration. So these are the 10 common questions that they might be asking about, same materials. So these are some categories that I'll be creating on the bot, and I'll be training the bot in each of these categories. So, and every time the way this Dialogflow works is, I first define those categories, and for all these categories, I say, like, if any question comes in that category in any format, like the bot will be smart enough to understand if it is coming in the same category. It will understand the intent of the user, what category the user is trying to ask, and there should be a predefined response that the TAMP team has already given. So if a question is coming on registration, the predefined response is, hey, go and ask your teacher. If the question is coming on the material, the predefined response would be something else. So as a first step, they have handle natural language queries using this dialog flow. But the problem then came in, there are questions coming in multiple categories every single time as they are going on scale. So it was difficult every time to create those categories, understanding what might be the intent of the user. So creating categories at scale was very difficult. Two, every time users would be getting a default response which the tab team has already added. And after a certain point, adding a default response would be also difficult because it might be always like, hey, go to your teacher. Or if it is a question asked on the activity that they have sent on that particular day, it's very difficult to add default responses, intent categories week on week. So to handle these problems, they have moved to ChatGPT. So, yeah. So the way we have proposed the solution to the tab team is we can build a personalized ChatGPT. Again, you may ask, like, why a personalized ChatGPT? Why not a regular ChatGPT? So in a normal ChatGPT, its knowledge is the everything that is on the internet, right? But in a lot of times, the non-profit might want to personalize or contextualize based on the content or the problem that they are trying to solve. So if a student is asking, hey, can I use LED in this? A regular ChatGPT might answer anything. But in this case, TAP wants the student to get answered based on the activity that they send. So that's the reason a personalized ChatGPT was important. Two, as you must have seen, Tap Buddy has a certain personality. It speaks like a regular, like how a student who doesn't have who doesn't know a lot of English, or it talks, it has a certain persona. It talks like how a student would understand in a simple English, in a language which is more familiar to them. So it was also important for us to train this bot with a personality, because a regular chat GPT has a certain personality which caters to a different set of audience. But for this, we need to add certain personality to cater their audience, which is the students. So these are the two things that we wanted to do with them. So now I'll speak about how we have actually built it. So again, like with because we have audience who might not be very technical or who might have not used Glific, so we have tried to put this try to explain this in a very simple way. So Glific is interacting with OpenAPI, which is ChatGPT, through Jugalbandi APIs. So Jugalbandi is an organization whose APIs, okay, so like you, in case you are not familiar with the terms APIs, whose platform we are using to create that contextualization. So as you can see, whenever a question comes to Glific, which is a chat bot, it first goes to Jugalbandi, where we have added this knowledge base. So TAP has created like an extensive document which covers all the possible questions that the that the students might be asking. So it creates a knowledge base in a form of a PDF explaining the whole program, so that whenever a question comes, we are able to use the capability of OpenAPI and use the knowledge base which is added in the Jugalbandi to give a response to the Glific, which is back to the user. So the capability of OpenAPI is still used, but to make it contextualized, to add that knowledge base, we have used Jugalbandi. So typically right now, when we use this chatbot, in this case, the chatbot's brain is not everything on the internet. The chatbot brain is this knowledge base. So whatever the TAP team has added in the knowledge base, the chatbot will be able to understand, or like if the question is coming out of it, will be able to answer. If something is out of it, it will say like, hey, I'm not able to, it's outside my knowledge. And even we are using Jugalbandi for adding the bot's personality as well. Hey, you we are in the case of TAP, we have added a personality. Say, hey, you are a helpful assistant who is responding to children of this age group who might not know English very much. So answer in simple language, answer in bullet points. So these are some things, a personality that we are adding to Jugalbandi of what the bot's personality should be. Sneha, are we taking questions now? Yeah. So as you can see, this is like, these are like two simple screenshots for you to get a sense of how it's working. So in this case, like when, like here, this is like a testing flow where the user is asking LEDs kya hota hai. So there's an activity that, like activities transcript that they have added, which is a science activity, which has a concept of LEDs. So it actually explained what exactly the LEDs are. So that's one way how from a knowledge base, it will take the information and give the answer. Then there is another screenshot where you can see कि tab class में करना क्या है, bullet points में बताओ, which means like what exactly to do in a tab class, tell it in bullet points. So that document which they have added as a knowledge base has what has information on what exactly tab class is. So it uses the ChatGPT's capabilities and answered from this knowledge base, like what exactly the tab class is. So this is how the ChatGPT worked in case of tab. So they have integrated it with their existing flow so that whenever the questions are coming in between, it checks the knowledge base and replies to the user. Yeah. So there are like after using it for certain point of time, TAP had certain things which they like to call as learning in progress, not as limitations or challenges. So one is a lag. So usually LLMs has a certain lag of 3 to 15 seconds. In this case, the lag is also because every time a question comes, it has to check the whole knowledge base and give a reply. One, it has to process the question, check the knowledge base and give a reply. So because of that, like compared to a regular chatbot where there is no lag, almost no lag, this has like a lag of 3 to 15 seconds, but usually it's less than like 15 seconds is what we have observed. Second is prompt engineering. So as I said, they have to build or give the bot a personality, tell or define like, hey, how the bot needs to act whenever it's answering the natural language questions. So TAB team is still experimenting with different prompts or different cues it is giving to tell the bot how it needs to act. So telling it like, hey, you need to just give your answer maybe in 3 lines, or you need to use like English, which is easily understood by a 3rd grade kid. So those are some prompts which they are still experimenting with to see like which one is exactly matching their current bot's personality. The third is building a context boundary. So sometimes like if there are questions that are coming outside the knowledge base and which is like a regular question, sometimes the ChatGPT's capabilities come into place and the bot tends to answer. But they don't want those questions to get answered. For example, like who won recent World Cup. So they don't want students to get answers when they ask such questions. So how to build those context boundary, again from a prompt engineering, like they are giving more prompts to the bot saying like, hey, if questions are coming outside your knowledge base, please say that you don't know the answer without actually answering some of the common questions. And the last part is the language limitation. So right now, based on our observation, when the knowledge base is in a language which is not English, the results are comparatively less accurate. Like responses are comparatively less accurate when there's a English being used, or when there's another language that is being used. So results are comparatively less accurate. So we are also seeing like how we can get over this language limitation. Currently, the knowledge base which TAP adds is in English. So we have actually created a detailed documentation on how we have done it. And we have also created a video. So this in our documentation, you will find like in case you are an NGO who is already using Glific. So we have created a sample flow. So you can just download the flow and upload it in your own Glific and try it out with your own knowledge base. So how to do it, we have actually told. Right now, you can just do it and see how it, like you can actually feel how it is working, so that in case in your future, if you want to try it out, you know how it usually works. Yeah, that's it from my end. Over to you, Sneha.
Thanks, Krishna. Okay, all right. So basically, so Krishna just explained on like how integration can be done and what are like certain things to, keep in mind, and there's certain learnings which are in progress. There are also a lot of possibilities that are present on Glific GPT integration. We have done couple of experiments now. One is definitely with the TAP team, where we have worked with their knowledge base, and we have worked on understanding what sort of student queries are coming in and how can we resolve those better, make it more contextualized. We also internally have done a rigorous integration with GPT on our support query. So Glific document, so Glific, when I mean how we support NGOs is we have a huge knowledge base, we have a huge documentation in place for different features that we have, different how our different features can be integrated with Glific. So we have tried using using GPT as a way to support our existing NGOs in answering those questions in the right in the timely manner. So that's one way to integrate GPT, basically integrating it with your customer support thing, or something where you're seeing that this is like an FAQ which a student is definitely if a student is asking on a regular basis, if there is a way to make sure that the student also gets the response in time and can so basically making sure that FAQs are automated, and through GPT we are sharing the information. There are also a couple of other ways in which not only educational resources but resources how resources that your program is already you have already have in place, you want the user to get more information about it. If there are like certain videos that you already have in place and you want to put it on GPT through on WhatsApp, and a student or any user ask a question, how can they find a particular video or questions related to that? So that is also another possibility. So it totally depends on how you want to use it. What are certain things that you definitely want to automate, and also want to take the support from GPT. Just make sure that the chatbot the model is well trained, it's regularly monitored, and it's providing the accurate information to the user. So through the GPT integration that we have done to support our for our customer support, we have seen that the accuracy was close to 70%. But Krishna and Akhilesh can share if there's a better number to it. But yeah, so through our customer support integration with GPT, we have seen like a accuracy of 77 plus 70%. So yeah, so that is overall on how you can use GPT. Okay. We also have couple of questions that we will be answering going forward, but yeah, okay. Just one more piece of information, because we have couple of new NGOs that have joined in. We wanted to we are starting a new campaign from today, from this call itself, which is the bootcamp. So bootcamp is, we have done one successful session or one successful campaign in January. This is the second time we are launching it. The idea behind it is, hey, we will get your chatbot up and running in 2 days. Glific team will work with you to create your to help you create your chatbot from scratch in just 2 days. So that is what the promise that we are delivering, and we have delivered in the past. And we're opening the registrations from today. Through this, you will get free access to Glific's platform for next 3 months, and we have also waived off the setup fee, which was 15,000. And you will get 2 days of hands-on support by the team in designing your in helping you get your chatbot up and running. Throughout these 3 months, we see 3 months as a good amount of time for you to come on board, try out things, and run your pilot successfully. So that's like an ideal range. People do complete their pilot in one month, 1.5 months. But yeah, overall, if you want to like improve things and make things slightly better, so that's how we have kept like a 3-month free access to the platform. The registration for this is going to close on 25th, and the bootcamp dates are tentatively end of September, first week of October. Those who register will confirm you the exact dates closer to the event. This time it's happening in 2 cities. So it will be in Delhi and Bombay. And we'll let you know how and when, about the dates and other things. Just why we're closing this on 25th of August, and we still have like 1 month for the actual bootcamp, is because we require the organization to complete the mandatory Facebook Business Manager verification, which itself is a time-consuming process, and it takes around close to 3 to 4 weeks to complete that. So that is, a mandatory requirement to, come for the bootcamp. And don't worry, we're gonna be there to support you throughout that 1 month to get this Facebook verification done. Some other important things are whatever messages are being exchanged on the platform, that's not included in this, which is the messaging cost and setting up the BigQuery, where you will see the data dashboard and other things. I've also tried to come up with some number to tell you how much is it going to cost you if you're going to do a pilot with, let's suppose, 50 users, and you want to send messages to them twice a week for the next 1 month. If you want to run a pilot for 1 month, it's going to cost around 6 to 8K, depending on your usage and depending on how your number of messages that you're exchanging. So yeah, so that is one exciting thing that is coming up. I will just share the link on how to register for the bootcamp in the chat window. And yeah, so that is it on the bootcamp. We are open for questions now. And anyone who wants to, just unmute themselves and ask questions. I'm just checking if we have Sushmita here on the call. Sushmita?
Yes. Yes,
Oh,
Neha. Hi.
Okay, so we also have Sushmita here from the TAP team. She is a product manager at the Apprentice project, and she and her team has worked closely on integrating ChatGPT with their program. And we also have Akhilesh, who's worked closely with the team to make sure that they have their GPT integration well in place. So yeah, so you can ask questions from the team if you have any.
Neha and Krishna Priya, this is Soumya from Key Education Foundation. Thank you for the session, first of all. I had a couple of questions. First, I wanted to understand a little bit about, like Krishna, what you were mentioning, that, the data, like the content will be stored, suppose, in the form of like a database or something. And based on whatever question the user types, it will go refer to the document and reply back, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So, but how is that, like, because the question can be anything, right? Like what you mentioned about Tab earlier doing, how it was like for every specific question, it was one answer. But now with the ChatGPT thing, the option is like more open-ended. So how does that work? Like if the user types a question, will the ChatGPT thing go at the back end and in that whole content look for that answer and reply back?
Yeah. So one, like again, the knowledge base is as simple as like a PDF or like a 2-pager document, suppose if you have it. Okay. So whenever a question is coming, it will understand what the user is asking in that question and search in the document. Like, so it need not be in an exact sentence. It's like a regular ChatGPT, right? I am asking like, hey, what are the good places to visit in Pune? You are asking top 10 places in Pune. We might be getting same answers. Like our questions are different, but it's referring to some information and giving us the answers, right? So it's similar to this. So it will understand what the user is asking question and answer it.
Understood. Okay. Yeah, thank you. And the second bit, the last from my side is we just wanted to kind of understand what might be the cost implications if we want to try this out in future.
Yeah, Sushmita, would you like to take that up?
Yeah, sure. Hey, Soumya. In terms of cost, initially, so when we were trying out the pilot phase, it was free. And when I say free, the overall platform is being used by multiple organizations. Okay, so when we started using it, we kind of faced few errors, not errors exactly, but limitations in terms of the number of users who are accessing the platform. So it would kind of time out, or the space or the number of queries that can be answered in a particular instance was getting limited. Hence, we went ahead and purchased a separate API for TAP specifically because we wanted to implement it and scale it up. For that, I think the initial purchase cost was around $5, and in June mid is when we started, and throughout June we hadn't really spread it across as much, but we were internally trying and testing multiple things to see how it is responding and everything. So for that particular instance, half of June for testing, we got a cost of around $1.2, something like that. So yeah, at a high level, that would be the cost. We've just started it in June, so we are still waiting for July. So approximately that is the estimate that you can look forward to.
Got it. So if my understanding is right, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, if my understanding is right, the initial purchase cost, if you want to have more users, kind of,
A separate API altogether.
API, that was around $5, and then for your internal testing, because you and that too because you just started in June, currently it is up to about
$1.2. That was from June 15 till June end. Whatever little bit testing that we did. As in when we scale, so the more the number of messages that go out, the more the cost will be. So it's based on something called tokens. Now there is no clear definition of tokens, to be honest, but if I had to give you a definition at a high level, you can understand 10 characters when you're typing any sentence or anything might approximately be one token. It's not exact, but it's kind of somewhere there. Okay. So depending on the number of tokens that are being exchanged with the API, the price will go up or down. If you use it less, you get a lesser cost.
Got it. Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you so much.
Also, I just wanted to add to your previous question. You can understand it a little bit like this. It's not an FAQ based system like the Google Dialogflow was, where, for a particular question, this has to be the answer. It's not like that. Rather, it's more context based. So you just need to provide context to the chatbot to train it. For example, if I today have to tell you about TAP, okay, I can give you 2-3 information that Soumya, TAP does SEL learning skills for children of the low income community in this age group. Okay, and we teach this subject, okay, like arts, dance, financial literacy. I give you this context. You as a human being heard that information and you understood that. Now, if somebody comes to you and asks you a question, you might not give the exact answer that I gave you, but because you know the context, you might be able to answer the question, right? So it'll behave like that instead of a direct FAQ kind of a system.
Okay, understood. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Sushmita.
No problem.
Thanks, Sushmita. Thank you, Soumya, for asking that question. Akhilesh, you wanted to add something on that?
Yeah, so Soumya, like Sushmita mentioned, that initially you can just test out and the ChatGPT integration where you can use the free APIs. The cost associated comes in when you want to like scale it up and you don't want those limitations where like if multiple people uses the platform, because if you are using the free APIs, everyone else is also using free APIs, so the overall number of user increases. That's where a bit of lag comes in to the picture. But if you want to like only your the people from your chatbot interact with it and you don't come across those limitations, then you can set up a separate instance The cost associated will be the OpenAI account that you link with it. And when you set up a new OpenAI account, you need to like have a recharge of like $5. So that is the initial cost. After that, you will be charged based on the usage. So if 10 users are asking questions on your bot for a month, and they are only asking like one question a day, and it is based on the tokens, then you will be charged accordingly. Similarly, if you scale it up to 10,000 people, the number of questions they will ask and the response that will be generated, the cost will then go up as well. And tokens are basically like in simple terms are basically like words that you speak. If I say that a quick fox jump over lazy dog, so quick fox, quick is one word, fox is another word. Similar to that, each token is created, and based on each token, you will be charged.
And is there a number, like a specific number for that? Like each token is how much, like how we have for nudges and all that?
Yeah, so it's the costing will be from the OpenAI account, and they have like pricing page. I can share maybe after the webinar that then this is the pricing page which you can refer to.
Oh, that would be helpful, Akhilesh, for the whole team for us to understand.
Yeah, I'll share that.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you,
Abhishek.
Akhilesh. Thank you, Soumya. Abhishek, do you want to ask your question? And then I'll take a couple of questions from the chat box.
Sure, thanks. Hi, this is Abhishek from Central Square Foundation. I had a question regarding one, the pricing, and the second, about the functionality itself. So let's say if we want to send out resources to students for a particular state, working like studying in this government school, wanted to understand if there a limitation on the number of users that the platform can reach to, that the lag time, like you guys were mentioning, was close to 15 seconds. Would that extend if the number of users are more? And second, if there's a certain pricing that you have for a bigger scale, let's say 1 lakh students, things like that. So is there a package of sort that is included? And also, if we want to share PDFs and documents through the WhatsApp bot, is that also possible? Right now, I saw GIFs and let's say text messages going out, but if we want to send out PDFs from our database, is that also possible?
Akhilesh, I can take the last question. Probably you can take the first two. When the chatbot except GIFs, you can send all sorts of media. So text, audio, video, documents, like any files and stickers, all these are possible. Except GIFs, all other media forms are possible within a chatbot, like within our Glific chatbot.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And pricing, I have sent it here, like from the OpenAI pricing. So Akhilesh, in case you have any idea if we have any different pricing at scale, you can add.
Yeah, so pricing is basically what OpenAI control is. And so far that I know that I don't think so there is a bundle package, something that if you go at a scale, the overall pricing will be less. But your pricing depends on the number of users and how frequently they ask questions to GPT. So if you're saying like 1 lakh users only send one message in a day, and that one message is breaking down into the tokens, and then the overall pricing will be less. But if the same 1 lakh users send 10 messages to GPT, the number of token increases and the price will also increase.
Got it. Thanks.
Any other question that I missed that you asked?
No, I think that's largely it.
Okay.
Thanks, Abhishek. Okay, we have a couple of questions in the chat window. So Siddhant is asking, is the integration flow specific, or can it direct or redirect users to different flows?
So it's actually depends on how you are integrating within your flow. So the one which we have created as a sample flow, which you guys can pretty much try on your Glific, is just to give you a sense of how it works. So how you are integrating in your own flows depends pretty much on the flow design. And currently it's not like like currently it's more like one question and one response thing. So in ChatGPT, it's more like a conversation where it remembers my previous sentence as well, right? For example, I asked a question, it gave me an answer. I said like, hey, I did not understand. Can you elaborate? So it remembers my previous question and it elaborates me. But in our current setup, it's more like, hey, one question to one answer. It's not like a conversation which I can build over my previous question or previous sentence. So that's one thing which we need to remember. This is like with the current state of our integration.
Thanks, Krishna. There's also one question on, so the responsibility of training the chatbot is with the NGO. Do you anticipate a capacity building challenge at the NGO to be able to do that?
Honestly, no. So one, definitely it's with NGO because you have to tell bot like, hey, what's your knowledge? Like you are actually building that brain to the bot, right? So it's up to the organization on what it wants to feed into the bot, like, hey, this is your brain. So capacity building, we don't see that because it's like you just creating a document, you updating it. Like if you actually see our video, like that we have shared, or like even read through our documentation, it's pretty much simple and straightforward. So for that, you don't need like a capacity building. And the knowledge base is like how you want your bot to be smarter. So for that, like you can actually see how we can, like how you want to build that knowledge.
Thanks, Krishna. Abhishek, you have another question?
Yeah, sorry, one last question. This is more about the analytics of it. That what kind of data am I able to extract at the backend? Can I understand the engagement of a student, of a school, of a certain region? That okay, we are getting a lot of responses from this. Let's say we have sent out a question in the morning. What number of students are responding to it? Who are all the students who haven't responded in a while? Things like that. Wanted to understand a little bit of that.
Is this in reference to the normal chatbot that you're asking?
Yeah.
Yes, you can pretty much track almost all the data, like every data that you have on the chatbot. So we actually, like all this data from a Glific platform, it goes to BigQuery. So you can actually then query it from there directly, or you can like display it in whatever like medium that you want. Like it can be a data studio, it can be a Tableau or anything. So
Sure.
you can pretty much track every data that's coming or going from your end on chatbot.
Thanks.
We can also show one or two data dashboard once we are done with the questions.
Definitely.
Yeah, over the call itself, so that it gives some idea on how the data looks like for an education NGO. Okay, there's one another question from Jacob on what are some best practices around keeping the cycle of questions, answers going, and helping the user enter, exit this chat GPT flow from other flows? Akhilesh?
Yeah. So means you're saying like updating the knowledge base, or how is it? So right now what we did with Tab is we set up the flow, and it's more like a help flow, and we recommended that a user can ask for a help flow where they will be reached out to a specific help questions, and then at the end of the help flow they will be asked, hey, does this answer your question? If not, then they can also reach out to the chat GPT flow in case they didn't get the answer. And in chat GPT flow we also store like all the responses. Hey, this was the question asked, this was the response from the GPT, and then type team can analyze at their end, okay, which are the questions that were answered correctly, which are not, and if there is a need to update the knowledge base. If they feel that some of the questions were not answered correctly, they can just then update the knowledge base and update the flow, and so that like it's a continuous process that they can keep on iterating over it, that and keep on like perfecting it. Does that answer your question? Or
yeah, I got it. Thanks.
Okay. Sushmita, I have a couple of questions that I would like to ask.
Sneha,
yeah.
Sorry, there are two more questions on the chat.
Sure. Okay. So Naveen is saying we use Jugalbandi API to access the ChatGPT. Is it compulsory or one of the methods to integrate the ChatGPT? Krishna?
Akhilesh, can you take that up? On like why we have actually went through Jugalbandi?
Yeah, so like KP also mentioned that based on the use case, the right out of the box ChatGPT does not make that sense. Then like tweaking it to a custom knowledge base. So that's where we implemented Jugalbandi APIs that they allows you to upload the documents and whatever question you will ask, it will act as a knowledge base, and ChatGPT will use that as a knowledge base to form an answers. So right now we only provide that one. But if you want like something like vanilla chat GPT that you just ask question from GPT and it will take the knowledge base from the world knowledge base, then we can also look into that. But if it means, is there a particular use case that you want to use like a vanilla chat GPT?
Naveen, in case you're speaking, you're on mute. Maybe in the interest of time, we can actually go to the next question.
Sure. Okay. Amit is asking, can this be integrated with any CTI solution?
Sorry, I don't know the abbreviation of CTI.
So if you're talking about Amit, if you're here on the call.
Yeah, hi everyone. So CTI is for telephony solution, or you can say that for any helpline. So where I'm coming from is like, suppose there is a health chatbot, and at particular any point of time we want to redirect that user or beneficiary to any helpline. So that can be done during that, tap on that link or something in your bot, and that would be redirect to the any helpline, or we need to just log off from that bot and dial that manually. So I was just trying to understand that part.
Okay, so right now the most of the communication happens over WhatsApp only, and if you want, you can only send the phone number as a text message, and then they can click on the message and get on a call with them. But also there is a Exotel integration, but not sure if it will suffice your use case.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions here from the audience? Okay, I'll just ask one or two questions from Sushmita, and then I can just probably show the data dashboard. Okay, Sushmita, just wanted to understand how's the with how many people have you done the testing of the GPT model, and how's the accuracy like of the model that you have worked with?
So we are still in the phase of rolling it out to our users. However, like from a user perspective, we are very limited right now. We've just rolled it out to like 10 to 20 of them. However, internally, we did a lot of testing during the setup phase and the pilot phase. And internally, I think almost 20 team members have tested. And when I'm talking about testing, we were testing it very heavily in terms of multiple users testing it simultaneously to check whether there's a lag or something, or asking various kinds of questions, things that can go wrong, the edge cases. In that testing phase, I think the accuracy rate was, like you said, it was above 70%. I think 77% is one number that I remember once. But yeah, as we are constantly tracking, it keeps changing. But at an overall level, I can say 70 plus.
Thanks, Sushmita. Also wanted to know what are the upcoming plans for the TAP team on GPT?
So the upcoming plans are, so we just started with the initial registration level questions. In the upcoming months, what we are currently doing is Akhilesh helped set up a flow where there are multiple activities that we send out to kids on a weekly basis, right? We want the setup to be able to navigate across activities and answer specific questions to a particular, like a specific activity if required. So we are in that phase of testing. We've tested that, and we are going to work on trying to refine and fine tune it so that we can avail that feature, because the main set of questions that might come would be related to the activities that we are sending out to the kids. So in future, that is the initial plan. We've so far rolled it out with teachers. We will also roll it out for students. And hence we are with students, it gets a little bit more complicated. Like you can imagine, the variation of questions or the variation of sentences can be huge. So we are trying to cater to all kind of edge cases to be able to tackle that.
Thank you, Sushmita. One last question. So, so if an NGO wants to try integrating ChatGPT with their WhatsApp chatbot, what are one or two things that they can keep in mind?
I think the major part of it is context, the document that you create. There is something out there in the tech world right now called prompt engineering. If you can have a capacity who actually knows prompt engineering, that would be the best thing out there. However, we do not internally have that. What we are trying to do is try and test multiple methods. For example, there is a default prompt given to the setup, which says, I am giving you this document, and you are AI chatbot who is going to answer to kids. And this is the document that you will refer to answer. Anything outside of the context of the document, you will not answer. Okay. When I give a prompt like that, suppose sometimes if I ask something very different, for example, who won the Champions League this time, it might go beyond the document and start answering. There have been cases where we've seen that it hasn't gone beyond the context, and it actually said that, I'm a chatbot, but I'm limited to this context, so I'm sorry, I won't be able to answer, which is what we wanted. However, you can play around and try and refine the kind of prompt that you're giving. In a second instance, when we used caps lock and wrote the same thing in bold, saying do not answer anything beyond this, right? The only difference was putting it in caps. The boundary, limiting the boundary was better in the caps lock situation. So you have to keep playing around with the kind of prompt that you're giving. Even in the document, when you're setting the context, the kind of language that you use it as simple as possible, give as much information as you can, and make it as clear as possible. That is what we've learned so far. So prompt engineering is something that would come in very handy when you're working with the bot.
Thank you so much, Sushmita.
No problem.
Okay. Okay. So we have. We'll just take this last question. We have one question over the chat box. Has impact assessment been done, like effectiveness of the answers to student learning process? Krishna, would you like to just, or Sushmita?
I think this was Sushmita.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so like I said, we are in that initial phase of rolling it out. With students, we haven't rolled it out yet. Hence, we don't really have an assessment right now. But eventually, we would want to keep a track. For example, in the flow, to be able to see how well the queries are being answered or not, we have added a step where we ask the teachers, because we've just rolled it out to teachers right now. So to teachers, we are asking if there is a 2-hour inactivity, we ask whether the query that you asked was answered or not, and a simple yes no response is received from them. So based on that, we are trying to see what is the level of accuracy that we are getting from the users. So that is an initial step towards tracking and seeing an impact, because earlier, if we were able to answer 5 questions, even if we are able to answer 20 questions now, that is progress, right? So that is how we are trying to see whether what is the impact of the setup with students. As in, when we roll it out with students, we will track definitely 2 things. One would be the engagement improvement, if any, and secondly, from a learning outcome, I think it will be a more extensive and a little bit more complicated setup, because learning growth is spread over a timeline. So maybe we will do something like an initial assessment of learning versus after a few months, tracking the same thing after a few months. So those ideas or those thought process is there. However, as and when we implement it with students, that is when we will start using it or setting it up.
Thank you, Sushmita. Okay, so then before I take that question, I just want to, we're already 3 minutes over time. I'll just show the data dashboard once. I'll just share it for 2 NGOs. And yeah, just a second. Okay. Okay. So this is for one of our partner organization, Antaram, that works on providing career awareness to young adults. And they have been working on the Glific chatbot for almost 3 years now. And this is how their data dashboard looks like. This is one of the snapshot from their data dashboard. It's basically, this is something that they've, customized. We give a template to all NGOs. Akhilesh and Krishna, if you can just pull the template and put it in the chat window. The template we share with the NGO, it's their choice if they want to, customize the template as per their requirement by themselves, or we also help NGOs in, designing this sort of a template depending on what sort of data they would like to see. Now, for Antaran's case, they would like to overall see number of users. They're close to 31,000 users, active contacts, how many students they have reached in a particular month by month. They're also seeing retention rate. What's the retention rate of these students who are being reached? Average message sent to these users. They're also checking bot rating. That's one important criteria for them to, understand not only that it's not basically a push system, right? It's a two-way communication where we're not only, sending the content, but also taking their feedback so that it helps them in increasing the effectiveness of the content or the things that they're sharing on the bot. Then user by geography. They're working at a large scale. So user by geography, they want to check and the preferred language of the user. So this is one of the dashboard. I will show you for, I'll show you for another one. Just a second. Okay. Okay. So this is a dashboard which Lahi Lend Hand India, which also works on a large scale, has created for one of their programs, which is a daily diary program, where they ask the students to record their internship experience. So they've worked with close to 15,000 students on daily diary program. Here, this is from one of their initial launch. So this dashboard is they have designed it with the Glific team. And here, depending on what sort of data they an NGO wants to see, you can customize this sort of a data dashboard. So here they're checking what type of internship was that. Was it an on-site, at school, online, hybrid? Did you get, so they were asking a question on the chatbot saying, hey, did you get parents' consent or not for your internship? So they wanted to see it across states. In which state is it low? They were also checking employee safety percentage. And then measures taken. So this is what they wanted to, capture through the data dashboard. And then they have, customized it for different regions, for Gujarat, Jharkhand, Delhi, Maharashtra, Nagaland. So that's how they have done. And they're also seeing hours of engagement over time. How's the engagement like? So they did this program in July and they saw that there's the highest engagement last year, and then it dropped. So it basically depends on when the program is operational and when it's not. So these are like the two examples on the data dashboard. Okay, we do have one question here. Siddhant, okay, we have two. Okay, Siddhant is asking, I have an ops related question. Will the integration only work when the webhook is called, or can it be in any point in the flow?
So you can actually include that webhook part in any point in the flow. So like both the sentences are like in a way right. So it pretty much depends on your flow design. For example, if you want to design a flow in such a way, like any question, like suppose if you have given option like yes or no. So if anybody's saying anything apart from yes or no, you want to call that webhook so that like their answer is getting captured and it is answered. Or you want to like put it at a certain point, like hey, whenever you need some help, send help, and then you say, okay, give me your answer. So it pretty much depends on how you design your flow, and it can be done in both ways. Okay. Yeah. Yes, you can extract qualitative data as well and like put it on your dashboard, like how you want to see. But it wouldn't be auto segregated. You might have to like qualitative, you might have to go through it and segregate how you want it or understand it better.
Yeah, you can pull it on Excel sheet if you want, and then probably go through all the responses in that case. Okay. Okay, any last questions, and then we'll just close the call. Okay, thank you everyone for joining in today. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Akhilesh, and thank you, Sushmita, for coming for the call and answering questions and helping us go through the model.
My pleasure.
Okay, all right. So, okay. If you're looking forward to, joining the bootcamp, please do fill out the form. I've shared it in the chat window. And yeah, I've also shared my email address in case if you have more questions about the bootcamp or Glific in general.
Thank you, Sneha.
Okay.